Listen, you can say what you want about Canelo's upcoming fight against William Skull on May 3rd, but here's the thing. If you're a Canelo fan, the argument of approval won't come without a contradiction tied to it, for the simple fact that if people call this a cherry or tomato can, every Canelo fan would jump to his defense and pinpoint why Skull's a qualified opponent. But in the same manner, if someone were to try and make a case for why they're picking William Skull for the upset, the same fans who approve of this fight will chuckle at the idea of Skull even having a chance. However, it's the same situation for any Canelo hater or mutual fans who respond negatively to the matchup, being that William Skull is the IBF super middleweight champion and is a suitable opponent for Canelo by default, since this is Canelo going for two-time undisputed and reclaiming the same belt he just vacated. Listen, you can trash this fight, you can call it a mockery, call Canelo every name in the book, but the fact of the matter is this, and I said it back when everyone was bitching about Canelo's bout with Berlanga. Most of, if not every one of you, will still be tuning in, and let's not even get started on all the wishful thinking and optimism that will come into play the closer the fight gets. I'll even go as far as to say some might flat out convince themselves that this is a cherry gone wrong and how facing William Skull is nothing but a jinx, given that he's the first Cuban fighter Canelo will be facing since his fight with Erislandy Lara. It's no secret that Lara was a headache and gave Canelo fits in a bout that many believe to this day Lara won. Now, if by some miracle or series of unfortunate events that were the case and Skull does surprise us all come May 3rd, it would definitely send shockwaves through the sport of boxing, of course, but because stylistically he's no Lara, and because I don't see anything that can really cause Canelo any real problems, I'ma go ahead and just can it until I do watch more of Skull's film. I mean, boxing is the theater of the unexpected, and everyone who steps foot inside of that ring deserves the utmost respect, whether folks like it or not. So I can understand where William Skull's coming from when he says it's disrespectful for people to just look past him and give Canelo's super fight with Terence Crawford all the attention. But what William Skull better be doing is focusing on Canelo Alvarez instead of all the outside noise. Because make no mistake about it, Canelo looks past no one. And by the looks of it, he's been training just as hard for this fight as any other fight. You can bet your ass that two-time undisputed is all that's on his mind. Add that in with the possibility that Canelo will be giving Terence Crawford a shot at being three-time undisputed in the event that he handles his business against Skull, and Canelo Alvarez versus William Skull makes that much more sense. I mean, Canelo himself just recently stated that him versus Crawford could end up being bigger than his fight with Floyd Mayweather. That's how much belief they have in this super fight. Turkey also teased that it could be the first major bout on TKO Boxing, the promotion him and Dana White are jump-starting. And even though Dana White didn't want to confirm any of this in his interviews, come on, be real, man. Who's not already anticipating the Ginger Red Hawk versus Gap Tooth America? After all, we just got a sneak peek this past February. Of course, there's an added risk already beside the winner of Canelo-Crawford bout, being that if Canelo wins, everyone would just say Crawford was a smaller, older fighter and that we all should have known better. And if Crawford wins, the narrative will be that he beat a fading Canelo who was aging as well and hasn't really had to stop it since 2021. Best believe every fanboy and hater will have the excuse ready in the event that their fighter loses. However, that's what makes this matchup a bit more interesting for me personally, for the simple fact that none of us would be surprised if Crawford is the Roy Jones to Canelo's John Ruiz, or if Canelo is the Triple G to Crawford's Kell Brook. That's more the reason why motherfuckers should be invested in seeing how the two fighters pair up. Crawford himself just recently shared that exact sentiment when talking to Ring Magazine by stating, and I quote, "We've never seen Terence Crawford at 168, so we don't know if Terence Crawford can take his punching power. We don't know if Canelo can box with me. We don't know if he'll be able to push me around. People think so, but in reality, we don't know. That's why two fighters fight." And those are fair points by a man who also went as far as to say that if he defeats Canelo Alvarez, he, Crawford, will be top 3 greatest of all time alongside legends Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson. Now, regardless, that will be heavily debated, but 3 times undisputed would definitely be historic, game-changing, and solidifying. There's no doubt about it. The only thing with Crawford that has me skeptical is this. A lot of fans and spectators are already running with the notion that he's chased this Canelo fight down all for the paycheck. And even though I do agree that every fighter wants the money, the biggest question I have is this. Was that all it was for in this situation? Because with Bud being forced, let me repeat it again. With Crawford being forced to vacate his super welterweight interim WBO title, people will come out of the woodworks claiming that Crawford not returning to 154 means that a fight with Canelo Alvarez could potentially be Bud's last hurrah, and more than likely will be him fighting for the payday so he can cash out. Now, because it does rule out a showdown with Virgil Ortiz and a possible bout with Boots Ennis as well, I can understand why most would believe it's Bud's last fight. Here's the thing about all that though, when it's being reported that Crawford will no longer be fighting at 154, it's because he will be moving to 168 to face Canelo. So just because he's forced by the sanctioning body to vacate doesn't automatically mean he's at the point of no return when it comes to the 154-pound division. So yeah, maybe Crawford facing Canelo will be his last fight, win or lose. I mean, after all, Crawford is 37 years old and more than likely would want to hang him up sooner rather than later. But we also have to consider the fact of what type of impact a win over Canelo Alvarez could actually have. Like, what if Bud decides to be a defending champion, making guys move up the same way he did? What if he does decide to go back down to 154 to campaign once again? I mean, what if he's still hungry? What if defeating Canelo's not enough? So many different scenarios that can come about depending on which fashion in which Crawford wins or loses. Now, according to his trainer Bo Mac, he's been in Bud's ear about how everyone just thinks they're fighting for the check. Bo Mac not only says Crawford replies, "Fuck him, Bo, we're gonna beat this guy," but Bo Mac himself elaborated when saying, "It's not about the money. He's already got great money in investments. Bud is gonna beat his ass for the simple fact that people say he can't do it." And then he continued by swearing to God that he's going to do it. Now, they say talk is cheap, but we've seen Crawford in this situation before. And if that doesn't hype up all the Bud buddies or piss off all the Canelo fans, then I don't know what will. Pop off.